Okay, so we're going to do our first asana right now. I guess technically we're always doing that because you're always starting in some pose, but you're going to lie down on your back and go into a really mild twist. Now, if you're chilly or if you like to do twists lying down on your back with a pillow tucked underneath your hip or your shoulder or anything, feel free to go ahead and grab something that's going to make it more comfortable. Because remember, in yin poses, we're generally here for a couple of minutes. So you will open your arms if you want to. You could keep your hands resting on your belly or your chest. Yeah, and you're going to drop your knees over to one side, just like we often do at the end of class. But what I would recommend is that you make sure you feel maybe the tiniest bit of a stretch in this twist. Yeah, so knees drop to one side, you can turn your face to the other. And again, any props that you want to use to pad up underneath, anything, might be in between the knees or under your bottom thigh. Yeah. Okay. And let your eyes close. Now you might feel a good bit going on now and you might not, and both are correct, for sure. But the longer you're here, the more you might find your body start to let go of it. So I'd recommend taking a couple of breaths that really aren't that deep. And feeling your body start to settle. And of course, if you don't want to twist or if it doesn't feel okay to, you can do anything else you like with your arms and hips that feels good for you. So I want to talk a little bit about the sense of self. I've talked independently with some of you about this before. You're all too quick to pick up on it. But it seems as though when you're doing something and the emphasis on the work is the self, right? You're working on, quote, yourself. Yet, according to these philosophies, the self either isn't real at all or is something really kind of obscure, like your self is awareness. The puzzle pieces don't fit very cleanly. But what I was taught a very long time ago, and this is specific to yoga, is that when we do these sort of rules, they seem like moral rules, the yamas and the niyamas, which are basically about caring for yourself and caring for other people. We don't do them for a sense of morality. We do them to keep the mind more settled, less stressed out, to cease the fluctuations of consciousness, right? That's what yoga was, and often is still defined as, to cease the fluctuations of consciousness. And you can think of something similar in terms of specifically the Buddhist idea of the self. Like, why do all this self work if the self isn't real? Because when you really pay attention to the self that you are almost constantly creating and affirming or denying, you can see which habits which things you insist on lead you towards or away from harm. Have a couple of breaths. Since you've been in the pose for a little while now, maybe the breaths get a little more full. A little bit slower. And perhaps you note really easily, because there's nothing you need to remember. There's no effort you need to put in. Just note what comes up when you do define who you are. You might define yourself by what you are amongst your friends and your family, what you have done for work and for hobbies, what your favorite things to do are, what your biggest fears are. And maybe see if any of this kind of clicks with the idea that the self is a creation that we make and keep building. But if we really pay attention to this idea, this story that we've created of who we are, we can lessen our grip on it and its grip on us. And here's the key. Perhaps you've noticed this too. The less self-conscious a person is, very frequently, the more at ease they feel, and maybe even appear. Right? The less invested, kind of obsessed with the self a person is, the more fun they're probably having. The more attention they're probably paying to something other than this very narrow sense of self. Let's switch sides. If you are in your supine twist, go ahead and let your knees come back to center quite slowly, and then over to the other side. If you're not twisting and want to do something different with your legs, feel free. Or your arms, if you want to just change it up. And after you've changed it up, have a breath. And let it go and resist, if you can. Any urge to move, as long as nothing hurts, resist the urge to move. So other things that happen when we're really not paying attention to this self that we have perhaps made up. We're deep in the experience we're having. There's a sense of flow, a sense of timelessness, a sense of rapture, a sense of engaging and connecting with the world. So it's my belief that to know this, right, to be a person lucky enough to get old and die, and to know what we can do and how we can change how we understand our sense of self, why wouldn't we practice mindfulness and awareness? It's almost like a key to squeezing the juice out of life. So take a moment to notice what comes up for you. And to, of course, because we are, some people would say, a bit addicted even to our story. Be really sweet to yourself when you get caught up in who you are. Right? We all have these ideas about what we look like, what is good and bad, how worthy or unworthy, and so on. I mean, indefinite, nonstop. So be very kind. You are an animal as deserving as any other. And see what happens if you slip out of that very narrow self, that very small idea, and be aware of something else. Maybe the body, maybe the breath, but allow your awareness to grow. Like again, you're becoming enraptured, fascinated, absorbed. And again, you will probably notice the self, what you want, what you crave. Tugging at your pants like a little kid. There's so much survival in that. Nothing wrong with it. There's adaptation. There's even connection in that. But notice when it happens and go back to this thing, whether it's your breath or what you feel in the body. With this sense of surrender, it takes a lot of letting go to untangle these ideas of who we are and who we think we should be. But the more you let go, the more you might feel it's like a fist that is unclenched. And you latch on to the breath as if it's the most exciting and interesting thing in the universe. Who knows? Maybe it is. And you feel every part of it. And you start Ujjayi breath if you practice it, turning the breath into a very subtle whisper. And sometimes, this is playful, I mentioned it before, but it's really useful. You just go to your breath now. Sometimes it's worth giving the self, with a lowercase s, a name. So when you feel him or her, them tugging at your pants, trying to get your attention, pulling you back in, you can acknowledge by a name. And go back to your breath. So there's no resistance. You're just taking this most interesting, fascinating breath you've ever taken and riding the whole thing out. If you were in a twist, come on back to center. Notice what's grabbing your attention, any sense of preparing or anticipation. And just feel where it is in your body. Go back to your breath. And maybe with the eyes only halfway opened, you make your way onto hands and knees. Spreading out the fingers, starting some cat-cows. Nice and easy. Sit bones, sternum, and nose up. And then you tuck under. And keep going. Moving with absolute no reference to the self. And noticing again, does it feel like it stretches out time, stretches out awareness and attention? Helps your body feel safe. And let's travel into downward dog. Inhale, shift forward into plank. Exhale, lower onto your belly. Inhale into cobra pose or sphinx. Exhale, back down. Inhale, back up to hands and knees or plank. Exhale, downward dog. Inhale. Exhale, walk up to the front of the mat and fold forward. Inhale, lift the back up some and gaze forward. Exhale, lower the fingertips and step the left foot back. Inhale, push your toes into the floor, your heel and both balls of the feet into the floor. Exhale, straighten your front leg a little and make your way back into downward dog. Inhale into plank. Follow the exhale onto your belly. The inhale into upward dog, or cobra, or sphinx. Exhale back down. Inhale into hands and knees or plank. Exhale, downward dog. Travel up to the front of your mat. Exhale, relax your head. Relax your arms. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, fingertips lower and the right foot goes back. All the toes and the balls of the feet press into the floor. Left heel presses into the floor. Breathe in. When you breathe out, start to straighten your left leg. Plant your right hand and make your way into downward dog. Inhale forward. Exhale down. Back bend. Back down. Up to hands and knees or high plank. Downward dog. Cover your breath with your attention. And travel up to the front of the mat, folding. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fingertips down, left foot back. Push into the floor just like you were doing before. Inhale, high lunge. Squeeze the muscles of your legs, lift your torso and arms. And exhale here. Inhale, push into the floor, drive into the floor. And exhale. Feel the entirety of the breath in. And breathe out, release your hands. Start to straighten your front leg, downward dog. Inhale, plank. Move through your vinyasa. Maybe adding that extra little push-up at the end. Travel up to the front of the mat, relaxing your head and your eyes. Inhale, lift halfway up. Fingertips down, right foot back. Push into the floor. Inhale, lift your torso, lift your arms. And notice if your mind is elsewhere. When you're ready, release your hands to the floor just like before. Start to straighten that front leg. Good. Step back into downward dog again. You can skip the vinyasa if you want to rest. Otherwise, take it, enjoy. And see what happens if you maybe just more simply just drop the sense of self. Just take a break from it. And travel up to the front of your mat, folding forward. Inhale, lift your back up some. Let's separate the feet for a squat for Malasana, and we'll take the squat as far down as your body likes, so as close as you can get your hips to the floor. Heels up or down, use props or not. Hands can be together in front of you. Good. You can even move, you can be still, whatever you'd like. But see what it feels like to move your knees out away from each other. And to feel a sense of length in your torso. So through the waist, the front of the body, and the back. From the neck. Go back to the breath. And again, you might even just imagine this body independent of the self. And you're just taking care of it. So listen, really, really listen. What's happening to your ankles? What's happening to the inner thighs? When you're ready, stand up, take your time, and leave your feet turned out, please. When you're ready, you're going to breathe in, and when you breathe out, drop your hips towards the floor, bring both hands to your right leg, and lean your torso onto your right leg. It's this tiny kind of side bend sort of twist over to the right. Now stand back up, and then grab onto your left leg. Lower your hips down and pull your torso gently, like you're trying to get your sternum to face your thigh. Come on back up. And let's drop back down, go to the right. Maybe your hips get a little lower and you grab your leg, maybe even wrap your arms around it and turn just a little to the right. Good. Back up. And lower down as far as you want to. Maybe both arms wrap around that left leg and you push the leg into the arms and turn your chest to your leg. Back up. Let's do one more time each side. You can lower a little or a lot, barely at all even. Hug onto that leg and turn to the right. Last one, hug on to the left leg with your hands, your arms, whatever feels good. And then after you come back up, you can bring your feet a little closer to each other and balance your torso over your feet. Inhale, reach the arms up towards the ceiling, and exhale, fold forward. Halfway lift, and left foot back. When you're ready, lift your torso, but this time let's bend the elbows so the palms face the ceiling and the elbows are moving back in space. Take your face back in space some too. Squeeze the muscles of your legs. Doesn't matter which ones you know of or where they are, just squeeze them all. And then let's open the hands out. Like you're trying to get the thumb side of your hands to move towards each other behind you. Or if it feels better on your wrist, you can turn your palms to face forward and bring the back of the hands towards each other behind you. Breathe, breathe, breathe. And again, just consider whatever shows up. Not me, not mine. And you go back to the breath. When you're ready, either stay here or start to turn your ribcage a little bit to the right. Taking your torso back in space some. Your face, as you turn it to the right if you want to, is maybe a little soft, if you want. You don't have to. And you squeeze the muscles of the legs. So using the strength from the ground up to support your bones as you turn, bring the arms towards each other behind you. And then back to center. And lift your arms up. Breathe in. And breathe out. And breathe in. Release your hands to the floor. Step back, child's pose, downward dog, or vinyasa. Have this moment. You can do whatever you want, but notice your breath. Maybe just tap into the fact that all that self-referential stuff that all of us do all the time is optional. It doesn't even have to be more complicated than that. Like sometimes you really can just drop it and enjoy yourself. So prepare for that lunge sequence on the other side. Maybe you go into downward dog. Maybe you choose hands and knees. But travel up to the front of your mat when you're ready. And inhale, lift halfway. Exhale, fingertips down and the right foot goes back. When you're ready, lift your torso, bend your elbows by your sides. So squeeze your legs first, and then imagine you were trying to take your elbows back, and your torso back, and your face back. So the support of that right leg is really important. Really, really squeezing the muscles of your legs. And see what it feels like to take the forearms away from each other, like they're trying to sneak towards each other behind you. The shoulder blades are down. The arms are back. And again, you've got that support in that back leg. So the back leg's super strong, but you're moving your spine almost back in space. Arms definitely back in space. So you can stay here, or if you want, turn your rib cage a little to the left. It won't go far because your bones actually get in the way, but just a little. Arms still move towards each other behind you. Legs are still very active. You might even start to feel them get a little shaky. How's the breath? And both of the arms squeeze in and back, both of them. Strong legs. Arms back a little more, maybe. And come on back to center. Lifting your arms and breathing in and breathing out. Notice all the heat you've created, all the work. And breathe in again. Breathe out, hands down. Step back. Downward dog, child's pose, or vinyasa. So we're not going to see downward dog for a little while after this. If you want to enjoy it for a breath or so, now's the time. And travel to the front of your mat, again, folding forward. Inhale, lift halfway up. Exhale, fold. Stand up. And then you're going to take your left knee. You might want to refocus your eyes. You're going to take your left knee up and grab onto it with your hand or hands. Take your time. Now, after you've grabbed your leg with your left hand or both hands, see if you can lift that knee to the left, like you're trying to point it to your shoulder, to whatever degree feels good on your hip. And after you've found your balance, find your breath. Lift, lift, lift that leg and see how much you can straighten your right leg. You might stay here if you want. You can wrap your right hand or arm around that left leg and turn your chest to the left. From wherever you are, let go of your leg and step it back to come into warrior two. And again, maybe the idea that we're addicted to our sense of self is starting to feel a little bit more sound. And again, one of the things that we're doing with this, with mindfulness, really of any sort, is just noticing. Bringing your attention back to maybe something besides that very narrow sense of self. Hands to the floor. Let's spin the back foot in a little bit and lower the knee down. And then after you've settled your legs, not crazy far away from each other, so you still have your left hip underneath the knee, your left knee underneath the hip. Bring your hands on top of your front thigh, and let's go into a twist with the elbow. So put your upper arm or your hand, whatever you want, on your legs, stack your palms, strengthen, squeeze your legs, and turn your chest. Good. Lengthening through the left side of the waist, very much. Feeling the breath. Maybe slowing it down. And releasing your fingertips to the floor. When you're ready, lift your back knee up and straighten your front leg some. If you want, you can spin your back heel to the floor. You can put your hands on top of your front leg or your blocks or your wall. And if you prefer it, or if it seems your body wants to, you can fold forward. And if you don't like it, you can always lift back up. But let's see if we can take the right sitting bone and lift it up. So right hip up behind us. So most of the stretch you're probably feeling in the back of the leg. As you're ready, walk your hands forward. Maybe with a block. Left hand is going to be underneath the shoulder. Lift your left leg up. Feel free to stay here in warrior three-ish. Maybe turn your chest to the right and lift your right arm up. Good. Possibly even looking up at your thumb. And then lower your hand. Step your left foot out to the left a little bit and drop your hips down into as low of a squat as you want. Maybe you use your elbows to draw your knees away from each other again. Maybe you move in a way that's soothing to the hip muscles, which are working quite a lot. And certainly go back to your breath. Drawing the breath out of the background again, so it becomes more interesting, it becomes more complex. As you're ready, release your fingertips. You can turn the feet so they're parallel and fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. And inhale, stand up, reach up, maybe look up. Exhale, release your hands, focus your eyes, leaning into your left leg, lift your right knee, and grab onto your leg, your right leg. Taking the knee up towards your shoulder, kind of like the direction the hip was in that squat, and holding on wherever you want to. But hold tightly like you're trying to give yourself a bear hug. Left leg is resisting a bit by helping you stand up, right? You're really driving that foot into the floor as you squeeze that right leg. You might turn your face first to make things a little less tricky. And then if you want to add the twist, maybe adjust where you're holding on to your leg with your hands and start to turn your ribcage to the right. Good, very beautiful. Everyone, relax, step back into warrior two. Or maybe just step your foot back and hang out for a second. When you're ready, left knee bent, yeah, arms out, gazing towards your left hand. And again, if you find yourself enraptured instead by your sense of self, go again to that sense of curiosity. You might consider what are you getting from thinking like that? Is it moving you towards stress or away from it? Towards suffering or away from it? If you're starting to be a little overcome with a sense of effort, notice if what's overcoming or what's grabbing at you is what you're saying about it. And what happens when you go just a little bit deeper into what you feel. Look down, bring your hands or fingertips to the floor, wiggling your front foot to the left, your right foot to the right, and releasing your right knee under your hip. Bring your hands on top of your left thigh. We'll put the right hand or forearm or elbow on the left thigh. Lengthen the spine, twist, palms together. Now you can keep your right waist kind of tucked in. You don't have to always be lengthening. I don't want you guys to think, because I say it all the time, that that's something that has to happen. But notice if you feel the twist differently or better. If you imagine you're trying to take both sides of the rib cage away from the hips. Squeezing in with your upper thigh, so you're still squeezing the glutes of the back leg. Slow down your breath if you can. And then release your fingertips to the floor in front of you or wherever. Back knee's going to come up. Back heel, up or down, whatever you like best. Left hip lifts up behind you and drives back, and maybe fold over the leg. So we're looking for the stretch mostly in the left back of leg and hip. Pour your breath right into what you feel. Take a breath in. Lift your back up some. Walk your hands forward. And launch that right leg up towards the ceiling. Squeeze your upper inner thighs together. Lengthen if you want through your torso. And maybe start to twist your rib cage to the left and reach your left arm up. Fingertips down, right foot down. This final squat or malasana is for your pleasure and to get down onto the back. So if you don't want to hold it, fine, just go ahead and lie down. Taking your time, we'll meet lying down on the back. And when you're ready, bring the knees in towards the abdomen. And then hold on to just the right leg. Take the left leg long, hovering off of the floor if you can. Now reach your arms and your right foot up towards the ceiling, and then bend that right knee and pull the right knee with your arms towards your right shoulder. Inhale, reach your arms up, reach your leg up. Bend the knee and see if you can pull the leg in towards your belly. Straighten the leg, reach the arms up. Pull your knee towards your shoulder. Straighten the leg, reach up. Pull the knee in towards your chest, your belly. Again, up and squeeze. And up and squeeze. And after you pull the knee in towards the belly, hold it. Lift your chin, really squeezing onto that leg. Pushing your feet, your left foot away from your hips some. And when you're ready, release your back to the floor. Release your legs right where they land. So right foot under knee, left foot forward. Push into the floor. The left leg is still pretty straight. Push into the floor with both heels, and then lift your hips an inch or so off of the floor. You might shrug your shoulders a little closer, like a bridge. See if you can tuck your tailbone and lift your hips a little more. If you want to put your left foot right next to your right foot for more support, brilliant. If you want to lift your left foot up towards the ceiling, different kind of brilliant, your choice. You could also cross your ankle on your right thigh. Use your hands for some more support if your back wants it. And come on down. Both knees in. And when you're ready, hold on to just your left leg. Reach your right leg out off of the floor if you can, but your lower back is moving towards the floor. Squeeze that left leg. See if you can pull it towards your left shoulder. And then reach the foot up, reach your arms up, squeeze your abs. Bend the knee and pull it straight forward, like right towards your chest where you're starting. If it hurts, definitely let it go to the left, of course, always. Arms up, foot up. Exhale, squeeze, intentionally taking the knee to the left. Inhale, reach. Exhale, squeeze. Inhale, reach, back on the floor. Exhale, squeeze. Reach. Good, knee comes back in, right towards your chest. Lift your head and shoulders up off of the floor. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. You can even let go of your leg if you want to. Pushing that right foot forward, pushing your low back towards the floor. And then let your right leg drop. Your left foot touch ground. And pause. And if you know already that you want your feet parallel for equal support, brilliant. But let's all first posteriorly tilt the pelvis. So take the front of the pelvis towards your belly button, a lot. And then lift the hips up, a little. Because that right leg is straight and the foot's on the ground, you won't be able to lift your hips too much. And you can stay here, driving into the floor. Maybe lift your right foot. Maybe cross your ankle. Let's all meet this time in a standard bridge. If you've already done a couple of these, both feet on the floor, you don't have to do another unless you want. But let's do one final, if you want, back bend. Come on down. Knees to belly. Knees drop to one side. Face turns to the other. Switch sides. And Shavasana time. Unless you want to do anything else. When you're ready, though, legs out, get comfortable. So back to this idea of selflessness. It's not trying to imply in any manner that certain things aren't real, like friendship and heartbreak and taxes and just everything. Sure. But this addiction, you might say, that we have to ourselves and our stories, our fascination with what we think other people think of us, with what we think of them, who's right and who's wrong, the whole gamut, like everything. I mean, it's everything. When we loosen the ties we have to that small, not the practical or the wise, but the small sense of I, me, mine, that is the key to ending aversion and clinging. So the biggest struggles we have are because we want something or because we really don't want something. Yeah, but when you understand that limited mental model, that intensity towards the stuff that doesn't really matter that much starts to fizzle out. So because we are all hopefully lucky enough to be getting older, why wouldn't we sharpen our awareness? Why wouldn't we do a practice that makes life more colorful, more astounding, more inspiring? So be aware. Be aware of the feeling of your muscles losing tension as they get the signal from the nervous system. And they send signals to the nervous system that you can relax a little bit and start letting go. Your body, the process is happening in your body so brilliant, so complex, just chugging along. like truly so incredible, and you get to experience little bits of it in what you feel in your body right now. Excuse me. So to tap in whenever you want to that sense of no self, first you tap into curiosity or wonder or kindness. And then you completely let go. If you have the time and inclination to stay in Shavasana for longer, please do. If you'd rather sit up, please do. Take your time. And let's, for 10, 20 seconds, let's notice the breath without having to alter it at all. And if you want to fold forward, bring the hands behind the back, hold on to one with the other, breathe in, and exhale, fold forward. And thank you very, very, very much, everybody.